don't think it is a fight song. There's no fight. It's just a song. Is it already live? Worst loss in Miami history. Wow. I knew that was coming. I can't hear your mic at all. Bear with us, guys. We're experiencing some catastrophic. I don't think so. Hit the headphone button. Hello? Is it dead? Well, this is a Christian stream. There's no cursing. All right, Tyler's gonna go put batteries back in. We're gonna get this thing started in a minute. All right, so obviously, as you know, since Tyler's going away, I can say whatever I want. Tyler's gonna blame this loss on me, but we know who the real problem is, don't we? Kermit the Frog sips tea meme. The problem is Manny Diaz. You can't hear what he said, but he'll say it when he gets back. Do 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 do. Tyler's getting batteries. I don't know if you're watching. If you're watching, yep, Tyler's getting batteries. Bear with us as he gets batteries.
Check, check. Is it working?
Do it again.
Hello, hello, hello.
Yeah. Whoa, whoa.
As our Lord and Savior. Yeah, have the comments pulled up. Oh, people that are watching this, I'm sorry if you had to endure this, but God, this has been an eventful night.
Whoa.
We had to we had to reschedule this thing like 4 times because we didn't know when we were allowed to use where we film. Then we got locked out of here. Andrew didn't have his key, and so
And I'm sure you didn't put on auto switch.
I don't, dude, bro. What is my whatever? Bro, what the? I don't know how to change this.
Hmm?
Now we're officially starting. Maybe. Hello? Hello? Oh, yeah, it's working.
All right.
Just have to, so we can see people's comments if they're commenting. Because this one's going to be a rough one. I would strap in. I don't know how long this was going to take.
We won't be here all night.
Well, especially at the rate it's going. It's going to be a while. But,
So Twitter's been quite interesting.
yeah, we should check my Twitter. I don't even know if I'm going to do that anymore. Because it's not like I said anything harsh, really. So,
Brian Hightower enters the transfer portal.
yes, that happens. So I said something today about Lamar Jackson, but that's not what I'm talking about. So, let's go back to the game. So my first tweet was fire Dan Enos. That was one of them. Then it went. So you know how everyone was saying next year was probably going to invoke panic because we weren't going to have Shaq and Pick and probably not have Jonathan Garvin. We may lose Jeff Thomas. We probably going to lose Navon Donaldson, who's our only good offensive lineman. We're probably going to lose DJ Dallas. It's like, well, next year's panic. Like, that's for real. But I think it's now, at this point. I think it's safe to say. Don't you?
Sorry, I was reading a tweet.
Oh. Well, fantastic. Which one were you reading, might I ask? Are you talking about the one about Hightower?
Yeah. And then
yeah.
Enos posted
So
someone I follow posted Enos up. But I don't know what that means.
So I said, so you know how next year everybody was saying we should probably panic because of the players leaving? Well, I think that deserves to be expedited to now. We just flat out suck. Is it the players? Guess that remains to be seen. It is by far the worst loss in program history. And then about 4 hours later, I was just sitting and I just typed, like, ha ha ha, we actually lost to Georgia Tech.
I did see that one.
And I retweeted Ed Reed saying he wants to become a head coach. And that's about it for right now, what I want to talk about, because Miami did lose Georgia Tech because of Andrew at this point.
No. Miami, as I was correct, as I suspected, from the first fumble touchdown, Miami did not show up.
True.
Nice kicks, by the way. Nice
Yeah,
job
like
kicking.
so we're gonna the defense in this game was kind of terrible in run defense, but at the end of the day, I didn't realize how young Blake Baker was. I don't know if you knew how young he was either, because I don't think anybody knew. Because I was just sitting there, and my cousin Bryce, who I always talk to, was like, "You realize that Blake Baker's in his 30s?" I was like, "What?" He's like,
that's not something that. To me, that's not a big deal. Is that a big deal in college football?
Manny is at 45 and in his late 40s.
Well, I know most of your top head coaches are like,
As I'm saying,
40s,
even
50s,
for
60s.
Manny to be 45, that's a really, really young coach.
Yeah, I did know that for head coach, but I didn't know about coordinator.
Well, coordinator is like, well, that really depends, because this is his first. Like, it's not like Manny, who had been to Texas, didn't cut it or whatever, was at Mississippi State.
Right.
But this was Blake Baker from Louisiana Tech, who didn't really have a big shot on his resume to note of, other than the fact that we hired him because he played like Manny did. And that was really the reason that Manny hired him. And I think he's just going through some growing pains about what big-time football means. I mean, it was Louisiana Tech, after all, which they don't play in a good conference.
Neither does Miami, as of now.
They don't play well.
I'm just being honest.
Their
it's not
conference
like he
is
hit much of a downgrade.
But it's like, I'll give him a leeway. The same leeway I give Manny Diaz for this first season, I'm going to give to Blake Baker and say, okay, after this offseason, Manny's going to realize that what his ideas that Blake Baker brought are going to be not so good, so therefore we need to transition into something more realistic.
Yeah,
So
I don't know. Manny Diaz is there. He was defensive coordinator. He has experience. So if Manny Diaz is there, Blake Baker, as we've talked about so many times, has someone to go and talk to, has someone to glean from, if you will. So I don't really.
he's still very young in football terms. Like he's still
Blake,
yeah.
but I mean Manny's there. Manny has
That's what I'm saying.
experience.
In terms of this is his first real big time shot, and he inherits a not so stellar secondary. Like not, I was gonna say not so stellar defense, but a pretty awful secondary at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Other than Trajan Bandy,
Well,
and it's
The
like
whole
you
depth
inherit
chart,
a
to
pretty
be
good front
honest.
seven. They've been really good in run defense all season, and then now we're seeing the spoils of the secondary, how it invokes then a
Miami's
good rush
got
offense.
10 players, 10 really good players,
Total.
give or take, to me.
I don't know. I don't think it's their players at this point.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying.
I think we're going to have to discuss that later.
I'm talking about your
'cause it's like,
second string.
oh,
As far as really good players, you got like 10 really good starters.
see the thing is, it's going to open up like a can of worms. But it's like I think at the end of the day, this is all comes down to scheme, and it makes players worse. Because Miami still has some of the most players in the NFL right now. Like
Well,
that's
that-
insane. Like it's like the 2001, 2002 team certainly is not still there.
Well,
It's
the
like-
2019 ain't gonna have nobody in the NFL.
You're definitely being overrated.
Yeah, I am. I'm just kidding, obviously. But
So
okay, let's get back to it. Blake Baker's only 36. Yeah, he's got room to grow. I feel like Manny
Mm-hmm.
is great with the defense. I feel like them two paired together did really good against Virginia.
yeah,
Georgia Tech, not so much. But okay, like you said, Manny's it's his first year. Give him a break. He's head coach.
well, I was pulling up the comments.
Okay.
Pulling up the comments, but it's still like
But yeah.
we still lose. We only give up one real touchdown in the game.
Now, and here's the thing, as we said all year, Miami lost, but they had so many chances to win. And it's like every game we've talked about this, Miami has so many chances to win the game, and Miami could be undefeated right now.
True,
But because a missed kick here from what, the 17-yard line?
but it's still like
a missed kick there, a missed kick here, and it's like it's just like
this still should not have been that close.
true, but you still could have been undefeated.
Yeah, I think that's what Manny is kind of holding on to because you can hear it in his press conference. It's like
He
he's
did say that,
he's always like, "Dog, we're like 5 plays away from being undefeated," and it's like
but it's true though.
you can't argue with that. But it's like, why are we? Because to me, defense isn't as bad as the offense, and I got some stats for the offense.
Well, no,
in
it's
terms of-
true.
True, but I think that what it's true is our offense was terrible last season, but our defense was number 3. So it in the country. So it kind of
Yeah.
balanced out the terribleness. But then you transition to where our offense is even worse this season,
Yeah.
and we got and above average. They're 19th in the country right now. I have that further down on my notes,
The
but
offense?
the defense is. The defense is 19th in the country.
Yeah.
They are in total yards allowed per game.
Sorry.
So that is well above average. I mean, because
I mean, they've had struggles. They've
Yeah.
had a lot of struggles, and they're not terrible.
no, I think they have the.
They've got like 3.
It's just one of those things. Like this is the quintessential Miami defense without the head knowledge. This is a defense that is fast. They are fast at getting to the ball, which makes them good at run defense. Other than this game,
But they're not so great at tackling.
which has come back to haunt them, like in games like this, and they can't really cover well with inexperienced corners, with only 5 corners even on roster.
Or they're
Or
getting,
4.
targeting violations.
It's like, yeah, we don't have many DBs in general, much less we only have like 4 scholarship corners.
But your
So
your backs aren't bad though. Like your cornerbacks aren't bad.
yeah, I think after I don't know what the deal is with Ivy. We're harping on defense a little longer than I really wanted, but once
I don't.
it's like
we both
Ivy
agree that
was
defense isn't the problem though.
yeah. So it's like if you could somehow replace Ivy and maybe get Blades to really step up, which he seems to be doing, but he must not be in practice or something like that because it's like Bandy, and then that secondary as a whole was a loss. So
But what I was saying though is, Miami, Florida. Miami catches the toss to Jeff Thomas.
in Florida.
in the end zone. There was like a toss to, I think, Jeff Thomas in the end zone.
Oh yeah, and he drops it.
And he drops it.
Mhm.
They could have won the game.
And he also fumbles the punt. It's like
Yeah.
if you go
But
back
it's
through
like
these games, you can
every
see
game it's like small
Yeah.
mistakes, but cost you.
it's like even if we win that game against Georgia Tech, I think every Miami fan is still like, that's not good. Like, I think I still have this same mindset if we win. It don't matter.
See, like honestly, it really didn't. Which I figured that Georgia Tech was going to win by a little bit, which is what I said. But I
Yeah.
think it really surprised Tyler
It really surprised how.
close it was.
I guess that was it, but it's like, at the end of the day, our teams didn't play worse than what we normally did. I think it just finally took a team that was infinitely worse than us to kind of bring to life
But I mean,
our
like,
needs.
Were they worse?
Yes. They lost to an FCS team. They put 2 points on Temple.
Well, I mean, they weren't worse than Miami,
In this game now.
but
In previous games, yeah, Miami's been the better team all season.
on paper,
You would say so, but it's like,
on paper, Miami looks good. But when they actually play and you watch them play, they don't. No.
what's that? The agree,
When I
disagree?
looked at ESPN on Thursday when we went live last week,
Probably.
Miami had a 95% chance to win,
Yeah.
and they were like a 30-point lead.
Yeah, I think the spread was 20 something. I thought it was 31, but I guess it went down.
I based mine off of how my guesstimate, if you will, off of the Georgia Tech UNC game.
Yeah.
The Georgia Tech scored 20-something points on UNC. Miami scored the same amount. I know that's not the way you base things, but I looked at Georgia Tech's running back,
But
who had almost the same stats as DJ Dallas, which DJ Dallas,
yeah. So I want to talk about this later because I have a lot of stats that I think help my cause, but also help your cause.
I'm over stats. Like stats, I don't even care about stats anymore.
I think this really proves where the offense
I just
is
want you to fire somebody.
Wish I could. So I said, honestly, I don't think I really want to get into stats of this game. I said Jeff was suspended, Dallas got hurt, Pickney got hurt, Bandy got hurt, Perry got hurt, we sucked, Enos sucks, fire Enos. At this point, I don't know where to start.
For Kosi to come back after he got a separated shoulder, which I don't know what a separated shoulder is. I mean, I know where
dislocated.
the tendons or whatever with the collarbone and connection. I don't know how bad it hurts, but he came in and played, and he was running the ball after. And in Enos's press conference, he talked about that.
Yeah.
He gave him a lot of credit, the fact that he would come back in while he's hurt and still run with the ball and still push to try and get the win. That says a lot about Perry. He also said that, which was surprising that he complimented Perry. But he also then said in the same breath that there were a lot of open receivers downfield.
Yeah, I've
that he missed.
I've rewatched that game. It's not. Yeah.
It's true.
Yes.
Yeah. No,
So-
Georgia Tech even? Because I know Virginia, we said the same thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Georgia Tech, it was like, it wasn't as bad because I don't think we were taking as many deep shots in general, but it's still like Kosi the rush was getting after that first strip sack fumble for a touchdown. It was like as soon as the rush got there, he was old Kosi again from last season.
Yeah,
He just
froze.
looked down and he was just looking because he had Mark Pope on one play that could have gone 30 at least. You know, if he makes a good move, he could have scored.
Well, if the screen worked where he fumbles, they would have had an opening, right?
Yeah, like
There was a
there's
screen, right?
yeah, that could have gone
Yeah.
for a lot of
And
yards.
Enos said that was
So-
a missed assignment from the right tackle.
With that being said, though, I don't really want to harp on so much what happens in this game, but it's like I don't like either of these quarterbacks at this point. I don't like Jaron. He doesn't have the mobility, and then Kosi doesn't have the awareness.
Well, it's like,
And
which we'll get into that Thursday, but it's like, we're going to start Tate now?
yeah,
It's like-
that's what I'm saying.
This poor season.
I have a lot to say about the offensive scheme that we
I'm
have,
going to bring
but I'm going to keep going.
I'm going to bring a little boat and a fish
So-
tank and just sink it right here.
So both quarterbacks were 17 to 31 with 200 passing because Kosi went out with an injury. Jaron came in for like a couple plays.
Yeah.
So 17 to 31 with 200 passing. Perry had 2 touchdowns and 1 rushing, 2 passing, 1 rushing. If we didn't run a double reverse on first down, our drives didn't do that bad. but for some reason we were running double reverses to KJ Osborne every other play. It seemed like. I know I don't call plays in the collegiate level, but I'm pretty sure I would never call a reverse in my life. Maybe one time.
Especially not with Miami's sack record and the O-line.
It's like, of all people, we're running it to KJ, not Mike Harley or Pope, who took 180 yards in the preseason scrimmages or anything like that.
I mean,
now,
if Enos is already blaming missed assignments on it's
I'm pretty sure we ran more double reverses than deep throws at this point. On a more real note, like, Cam Harris did really, really good this game. I was really not confident in him once Dallas went down, but Cam really showed he had some burst. He's definitely not as good as DJ Dallas, I would say, because Dallas is just like a freak, and I think by the time Miami fans really realize how good DJ Dallas is compared to the rest of the backs in the country, he'll already be gone.
I like Harris.
Yeah, I'm not saying Harris is bad, but I'm thinking, because Harris, I think, is a good back.
He's just
different.
different.
That's just how much better Dallas is to me. Because Dallas is like, if we don't pay attention to how good this kid is and not pay attention to how bad we're doing and just watch Dallas, he's going to be gone, and we're going to just be thinking, how did we not pay attention to every play this kid had with a magnifying glass and making sure that we're watching everything he's doing? Because
I think DJ would do great at Alabama.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Cam ran for 18 for 136, had a receiving touchdown. Honestly, on the offense, it seemed too different than what we normally do. It's just, it felt a whole lot worse in this game because Georgia Tech is a terrible, terrible, terrible defense. But yet we were still finding some ways to somehow be awful.
Yeah.
And then it boils down to then it's like you got play calling, and then it's like, well, people are blaming the quarterbacks. It's like, well, I understand that a little bit because you read some of the stats from Perry, and that just becomes like just insane when people are saying, Perry's the best, when you realize that he was no different than what Jaron Williams did on the season. I mean, Kosi had 188 yards for 57% completion rating. Like, he got sacked. He was responsible for a sack touchdown. Like,
yeah, but I don't see, and I think I said this before, I don't see Jaron getting the scramble TDs that Kosi does.
But it's still like, if people were, what I'm saying is, as Kosi people as a whole, as like the people that are saying Kosi could do no wrong, he was 188 for 57% against Georgia Tech. He had 2 passing touchdowns. One was a screen. And it's like, if that was Jaron Williams, people would be kicking that kid back to Georgia.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like, well, for some reason, it's Perry. It's like, oh, he played excellent. He deserves to be our starting quarterback. It's like, dog, you compare his 2 numbers from the past 2 weeks, it's not good.
Yeah. It's like Virginia was like this ray of sunshine, and then, was it Virginia or Virginia Tech where he put up like 400 yards?
Virginia Tech.
Yeah. It was like a ray of sunshine, and then it's just like from there, it's like,
And it's like, people are like, oh, blaming the scheme. But it's like, at the end of the day, Jaron Williams still has like a 70% completion rating.
yeah, I know someone who blames this scheme a lot. A lot.
I do blame the scheme. But at the end of the day, Jaron runs this scheme and completes 70% of his passes.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like,
but does he get as many touchdowns?
I mean, that would then beg the question, do you trust any of them to win a game?
No.
I don't trust any of them. So
therefore, and that's why in each press conference of each coach and coordinator, it's like, Kosi gives us the best chance to win. The best chance is used a lot.
I don't care what anybody's. At this point,
best
they're
chance.
both quarterbacks are hurt. Tate Martell.
Miami's rebuilding.
That's all. I just
stamp it. Miami's
at this point,
rebuilding.
the season is a loss. You got to do something. I have a Tate Martell discussion for later, but
we'll talk about that Thursday, right? Because we'll see the Wednesday practice he was throwing.
Actually,
anyways.
yeah, I have it down here. Actually, we could just no, because what I have isn't like what Tate's good at. It's like what I wanted them to start Tate for. So we'll go from that. I said these are where things are not nice anymore. I'm going to say the argument I'm about to say is literally stupid compared to what I said last week. I said last week you can't change scheme midseason, blah, 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 blah. These are the cold hard facts, and these are showing you that what we're doing is awful, and we've got to do something that is on the flip side of it and completely opposite of what we're doing, because this is going down a terrible path. So Miami averages 280 yards passing per game. We're also running for 130. To me, those stats do not equal 4 losses. Rushing, maybe. Rushing is quite low. So 280 yards passing is actually not bad. According to people that make stats and win expectancy in terms of yards and touchdowns, interceptions, completion percentage, the way the defense plays, yards allowed, everything, Miami should have won. All 4 of their losses have a complete average win expectancy in terms of what the stats were of 70%. Which means if you saw these stats, blind eye, you didn't see the game, and you had to bet on them, you would have to bet 70% in Miami's favor.
Okay, so what I said at the beginning was right. On paper, Miami looks good. But when they show up on the field, you can look at the paper and look at the stats and say, this is an insane team. And then you watch them play, and it's just gone.
So that means Miami, you would say, so statistics out of 4, that's basically 3. So Miami should only have 1 loss right now.
Yeah, and that should have been...
Because 75% win rate would mean you win 3.
Yeah.
So therefore, you would probably say the loss to Florida, considering the way Florida's been going this season.
Yeah, either Florida or UNC.
Yeah, because that one.
Yeah.
Well, that would also mean you beat Florida.
Yeah, either or is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Miami did have a chance to beat Florida. So.
Yeah. So that
which is 70% what I said. Like, when you look at the ESPN app on paper, Miami was expected to win by 30 points, had a 95% chance win rate on paper. But as I said, and me, the guru who has no idea about stats, I am a guru now. When Miami plays somebody that's lower than them, they pretend like they're the 2000.
I don't think it was that. I think it's a combination of the fact that we got. No, it's not that. It's like because we play the same way. I think every week at this point. It's just
Enos is still doing the same play.
It's a freak strip sack fumble. It's a freak that punt pass is insane of a throw.
But they expected it.
True, that's what Manny said.
Manny said that they were prepared.
It don't matter. Ivy sat there and watched the dude run past him.
Even the reporter said, "Well, it looked like Ivy froze," and he's like, "Yeah."
Well, I understand why it is punt safe, so you don't want to get near the ball because it's going to be coffin cornered, so it's going to bounce, guaranteed almost every time. So you don't want your guy near it. But at the end of the day,
he literally said, "We were watching the punter throw insane accurate passes before the game starts."
I don't know if I believe that.
So we were prepared for it. Well, okay. So now you're against Manny.
It's not. I don't trust him. I don't trust what he's saying. I don't think that he's a bad coach.
More.
I think he's a first-year head coach, and he's trying to save his skin.
He's a politician like his dad.
He's trying to save his skin. I don't know if he's a politician. He's definitely trying to save his skin.
He's trying to use his words to make it look better than it is.
That's basically what I said. He's trying to save his skin.
That's what politicians do.
Whatever. And so, if you look at 70%, that means we should not have even 4 losses, much less 2.
So we'll say 2 max. 2 losses max.
Yeah, and I would venture to say those first 2 games are games that we should have lost based on stats and what we've got. So the cold hard facts of the game is we should have won 70% of the losses that we have. So
so Central Michigan, you should have blown out of the water. Virginia Tech, you should have blown out of the water.
Well, we didn't lose to Central Michigan, but I understand what you're saying.
They almost did.
Yeah, I understand. That's what I'm saying. I understand what you're saying.
According to your stats, the rest of the season, it's like. Keep going.
Well, the guy that made this stat said, at the end of the day, Miami and what's happening to them is a freak of nature in sports, is what he said. Is it because if you combine, he said, nobody in the league has this bad of a kicking game. Nobody. Nobody has missed
That's true.
more than 60% of their field goals.
Which, granted, we'll say the third was blocked, but
As he said, nobody prepares for the fact that you can lose a game to a punt pass, or the fact that your kickers literally lose you games instead of keeping you in them at the very least. And he said this is just a freak whirlwind. And I don't know if I believe that necessarily, because our offense is a little bit of a joke. But these games are not – these games should not be as close as they are. And they're close because we are 27% on third down, which makes us 125th out of 130. 27% on third down. We are 67% in the red zone just scoring a point. So that's touchdowns or field goals.
For this year?
67%.
I thought it'd be lower, honestly.
It's not that bad. We score a lot of – you say it's not bad, but we're 123rd in the country.
I honestly thought it'd be a lot lower because
out of 130.
Miami's good at driving the ball sometimes, but it's like they get in the red zone. It's like they shut down.
It's not the team.
Yeah.
So, therefore, they are 67% in the red zone. That makes them 123rd.
You said they're 20-something% in third down conversion?
27% on third down. That is atrocious.
That's got to be almost the worst.
So knowing those stats, Miami is 29th in the country in passing offense. We are 102nd in rush offense, which is we've gathered that one because we haven't been able to run the ball well consistently all season. But passing, we are 29th. That is above average. Or average. I would say average is in the 30s. Other than that, your passing game is just not terrible. Even though average would make 130 is like.
Yeah, I mean, that
60,
is surprising for Miami. I mean, Jaren's got.
Well, that's the thing. This passing offense is average in terms of stats.
Oh, you got to look at it too, though. Kosi put up those 400-something yards on Virginia
But
Tech.
still, if you go back to Jaren was putting up like 280 every game.
Jaren's, he's 70%. He's 1,086 yards. Kosi is at 871 yards, 59% this year.
You know what he was last season? 56.
Less. Oh, okay.
Malik Rozier last season was 54.
So I mean, he's got a 3% increase. That's an increase.
That's an increase. You're ridiculous. So
yeah,
we're 102nd.
DJ Dallas is 486 this year, and Harris is 282.
Well, we're 102nd on rush offense, but they count sack yards as negative rush yards. And we're not dead last anymore in sacks. We are 124th in sacks given up.
Jaren's got negative 62 yards rushing.
So we are negative 20, or not negative. We should be negative. We're 124th in the country in sacks given up. But our offense is 62nd in the country in terms of yards per game.
I guess that makes sense because they've been driving the ball, but they don't do anything about it.
It's like what I say works now. So it just like it I don't believe in stats necessarily. Like they don't win you games or whatever. That's why I try not to use them on this podcast. But I think this one, with the way we're at right now, it's like these stats tell you the story. We are 29th in pass offense, but yet we are 27% on third down conversions. Like, okay, we're 29th again in pass offense, but we're only 67% or 65% in the red zone. It's like all these stats are adding up to each other in order to get points. Because we average right now, last year, our offense averaged, if you factor out the FCS games, which I think last year was Savannah State. So you factor in this year, which was Bethune-Cookman, you take that out. So therefore, our points per game last season was 24.8 points per game. This year, it is 22.4 points per game. We are scoring less points this year than we did last year with Mark Richt's offense, who had 7 plays, who had the friggin' playbook from Waterboy. Like, people had his playbook and were just writing down his plays. So, I don't know what else to say. I mean, you combo all this stuff. We can't run the ball well, which we all knew, but we're giving up sacks left and right, but our offense is 29th. in terms of pass offense. We are 62nd in terms of total offense, which is really, really terrible. But does that equal 4 losses? I don't think so. I think we maybe should only have 2 losses. Maybe. Our defense doesn't suck that first half against North Carolina.
Yeah.
Because our defense right now ranks 19th in the country.
But you know, though, your defense hasn't been that great this whole season.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, it's like...
But yeah, it's like Miami makes the plays. It's just the plays that they need to make to score, they don't.
It's like I'm a psychic. I said this after the Florida game.
It's like every play is good until they get to the red zone or they get to 3rd or 4th down.
I got a lot more. So, people hated Mark Richt. I hated him because we only had 7 plays. Our offense was one-dimensional in the sense that we could only run the football. Well, Malik Rozier and N'Kosi Perry both played at all times, it felt like, in the season, and they both combined for like 58% completion. So, it's like, oh, we wanted him gone. We want Coach Mark Richt. We want him to be set back up on his CEO role, not call plays anymore like he was at Georgia, and hire an offensive coordinator. He says, no, thank you. Sayonara, I don't want to play football anymore. I don't want to do anything with it. And you're like, fine. We got our wish at the end of the day. Then you bring in Manny, and for all intents and purposes, has home run hires at the beginning of the season. He hires Dan Enos, who was in competition to be Alabama's offensive coordinator and Georgia's offensive coordinator. And we somehow stole him from Bama. That was, like, insane. And then you bring in Blake Baker. You're like, well, this guy's young. He runs the same defense as Manny to an extent. Like, let's ride. And you feel like, at the end of the day, I was critiquing the defense a lot at the beginning of the season. But I think the defense has kind of come back into its own with Manny kind of coming back into it. And then the offense is just regressing. Like, and you understand why they're like, Jaron is our guy, because it's like we said last week, is this scheme inhibiting the players? It's like, yeah, because Jaron is the best for what we're trying to do. Is he the best quarterback of all of them? I don't know. But
I still think Kosi gets you the win.
I do not. I don't trust him. I don't trust either of these quarterbacks to get us a win at this point. But
Kosi's scramble is what gets you. I mean, obviously he's missing wide open players, and you know there was some talk earlier about Jaron missing wide open players as well. So,
but still, he didn't take unneeded sacks. Like, he was getting sacked just based off waiting for the play to develop. It's like,
yeah, I see pros and cons on both of them.
I
Jaron
think
looks
what
better on paper, but I still roll with Kosi.
I think what we failed to realize, Andrew was not a part of this at the beginning of the season when we had our QB battle. When me and Mike guys would talk about this all the time, it's like, I think we failed to realize as a fan base, and just me personally, it's like, I don't think we realized how big of a weakness these 2 quarterbacks had. Like, it was like, okay, we've got 3 quarterbacks. I really wanted Tate, so did my cousin. And it's like, Tate kind of gets pushed out, and you realize Tate's not going to get it. It's either going to be Kosi or it's going to be Jaron. And we're like, okay, this is a 3-way battle. Whoever wins this one deserves it. They're going to deserve to win. I think what we didn't realize that they were both terrible at what they're not good at. It's like, well, it sounds like a double negative, but it's like, no. Like, they are terrible at, like, Jaron is terrible at being mobile in the pocket. He just stands there like a statue.
Yep.
Kosi is terrible at making sure he keeps his eyes down the field or hits his underneath stuff or whatever. Just make sure he knows where to go with the football.
He throws sloppy.
And then Tate, apparently, this has to be the reason, is that he throws worse than Malik Rozier. Is the only thing I can think of at this point, which he doesn't, because I've seen him his film. I've seen an actual game from him in high school. Like, I've watched a whole game that is his. I've seen him make these throws in high school. This should not be a problem, but here we are. It's
so you have stuff on Tate.
You want me to talk about it?
Yeah, because I don't know anything about Tate. He came from Ohio State, right? Not Ohio State.
Yeah, he came from Ohio State.
And he was a
So-
3-star?
He was a 4-star. So
So how does a 4-star not get to play? I mean, did he play any at Ohio State?
he played because Dwayne Haskins last season threw for like 50 touchdowns.
Okay, so he just got
He is a redshirt freshman. They had J.T. Barrett, who had played there since his freshman season, and he played all the way through senior year. But Tate came, and Dwayne Haskins was in front of him. They said Tate probably would have beat out Dwayne Haskins in the articles that I seen, but Dwayne Haskins had to come in one game the year before last season, so 2017, and they said not they said, but Dwayne Haskins just threw it all over the field like he did last season. So they said they gave the edge to Haskins over Tate. That Ohio State loved Tate that much, and that's why they told Tate, like, we're not going to use you. We're going to bring in Justin Fields. You probably should transfer. But if you watch Tate's highlight film from Ohio State, it's insane. Like, Tate
Well, he has
Martell was
stats from
undefeated
last
in
year.
high school. Huh?
He has stats from last year.
Yeah, he actually played a little bit. And like
23 completed out of 28 gives him 82.1%.
well, he played that garbage time. Like the FCS game they play. So
269 yards.
so what
Is it because Tate doesn't fit the scheme?
I think there's one of two things. It's like one's a tinfoil hat theory and one's like
I want to hear the tinfoil hat.
they're both kind of tinfoil because like the one doesn't really make sense because I've seen Tate. So the one is that Tate has a terrible arm. And it's like I've seen Tate Martell play. I've seen him throw the football all over the field, and it's like I've seen him in high school. He does not have a bad arm.
But you
Is
can't,
it good? No.
you can't not be a good quarterback and get a 4-star.
He was the number one quarterback in that class till Tua Tagovailoa won the Elite 11.
Okay, so
And
he's
then
like,
you see what Tua's doing,
so
and
he's
it's
like
like
a top
okay.
5 QB.
N'Kosi Perry was ranked higher than him, if you think about it.
Wow.
So this boils down to what is Tate Martell good at? Tate Martell is good at the short game, and he's good at running the football. What is that completely different? That is a completely different offense than what we're doing right now. So, I forgot to answer your question. The reason why I don't think Tate is playing is either one of two things. It's either A, he can't throw, which I know he can. The second part is I think Enos just doesn't like his style of play.
So he doesn't fit the scheme.
That would be it. But it's like, why would you be so narrow-minded in your scheme that you completely eliminate a quarterback in a three-way race? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like that one doesn't make sense either. Because like, how are you as a coordinator eliminating completely? Would you say I have a legit 3 QB race in press conferences, and then you just completely eliminate one
So you
right
think,
off the jump?
So you think that Dan is saying, this is my offense, this is how I'm going to run it, and we're going to see who fits it the best.
Well, yeah, because that's what I said last week. I said more than likely this was developed back in March. They
But I mean,
say,
like,
okay,
You're more than 80% sure that's what it is, right?
it's got to be that because it's like I know Tate Martell does not have a terrible arm. There's people have said that apparently Tate Martell throws worse than Malik Rozier, and I don't think that's even possible. And it's like I've seen him play, dog. There's no way he's that bad. I've seen this kid play a legit high school football game, and he did not miss that many throws. His deep ball is not exactly all there, which he doesn't have a lot of arm strength. He's only 5'11". And so you back it up, and it's like why he isn't playing is really, really fishy. And so I want him to play because we have nothing else left to play for. We have to play for bowl eligibility. If we don't get, I don't think we can get bowl eligible with the offense that we're running. So I think what it's going to take is we have to be experimental in a way and figure out what offense fits our team in order for the next season. Because if I'm Dan, I'm making sure this offense at least looks promising before the end of this season, or I'm probably going to get fired. Because you are 27% on third down, 65% in the red zone. Like, I don't care what all those other, it's like, I showed those stats to show you that while we look good, this is the real story, is that we can't convert third downs and we can't score in the red zone. Those are your money plays.
I just found this. Which, I hate the press conference, which this is like a side note of what you're saying right now, because people will ask Manny Diaz questions that count, and he won't answer them directly. So apparently they asked him, which I didn't finish the press conference.
I saw it.
But here's what Manny said. We still have a package for Tate.
I think that means the receiver. I don't think that means the quarterback.
But when I look at what we're doing offensively now, and I look at our numbers, we had the disastrous first series, and we had 1-3, and the rest of the way. I don't know what that is.
1-3 and out. We went 3 and out the rest of the way.
We got down to the red zone 8 times, which basically means we were never stopped. Obviously, finishing the drive with field goals, it should have been a 30-point game, if not more, because there are obviously plays in terms of our red zone execution that we're still trying to get better. I think when Jaron has played and with what Nkosi has done the last couple of weeks has absolutely given us a chance to win all those games, and that's nothing against Tate, but those guys are playing well. How is that nothing against Tate?
There's something personal with Tate, and it's like it's either
Fire.
personal because he can't play.
Fire Manny Diaz.
It's either personal because Tate can't throw, or it's personal just off the jump. Like, I understand how it's the first one because
They don't have a package for him because they're not even playing him at wide receiver that much.
which
He
they
gets
did
like-
against Florida.
He gets like 2 plays against Florida.
It's
right?
just at the end of the day, we're 124th in sacks. So, what alleviates your sacks? QB runs, designed QB runs. Keep your defense from having to just rush the passer every time. Now they got to play contain, and they can't really rush the quarterback. Because if you rush the quarterback from the outside, like you're always going to do, they take just boom right at the middle. It's like, well, Kosi doesn't. No, he doesn't. He doesn't do it well enough. So why is it that Kosi gets a pass and Jaron gets a pass for taking sacks, but Kosi gets a pass for getting sacked also because of completely other reasons, but yet Tate doesn't even get a shot? It's
Yeah.
I don't think Jaron has done a whole lot bad in order to not deserve to be the quarterback. Like, I think Jaron still deserves to be the quarterback. I'm talking in terms of offense and what we need to produce points. This style of offense is the best at the end of the day, and who fits it on our team. Because a perfect offense, in my eyes, is Oregon's offense, which is what they had with Marcus Mariota and DeAnthony Thomas and LaMichael James, all of them. They utilized their speed, and so therefore, that includes the quarterback, Marcus Mariota, who won the Heisman. Then you combo that, and who on our team can do that? It certainly isn't Jaron, not Kosi. Tate definitely, but does Tate know how to throw? I guess remains the question. I think he can. It's just some reason they don't like him, and then you got Scott Proctor's the walk-on, and then Peyton Matacha, who's a freshman. So it doesn't make any sense to me why we are the way we are on offense. As this transitions into why we are on offense.
I mean, I still always say it, but the O-line. There's
That's
the
the
O-line.
the O-line is the overarching problem in all of this.
It's non-existent.
So
If you had an O-line, I see Jaron doing a lot better.
how do you combat a bad offensive line? You put your quarterback in the shotgun. It's going to take longer for them to get there.
And
We're
you
not
don't
even doing
run
that.
reversals and
We don't run
these
double.
fake play actions where you got like 15 people that you're trying to pretend they have
There
the
are
ball
some
to.
under center plays that he is running in Georgia Tech that are insanely good, and I have to give that to him. But it's like I feel like every dog gets lucky at some point. Like every dog catches his tail at
That's
some
a
point.
true statement.
And so I just
A
want
blind
to. I
squirrel.
don't want to talk about this team
A
anymore.
blind squirrel will find a nut, you know?
I want to talk about why we have this offensive scheme, not who's going to be best to run it. Because I don't think it matters on Monday of a game that we're probably going to lose anyway. So what I think we just need to do is find an offensive scheme that works. Because I think Dan could be gone at the end of this season.
Yeah, and I mean, which we were just literally just talking about it, though. If we spent a lot of time talking about Dan, we spent a long time about talking about the quarterback race. You got 3 options, you know. Jaren's got a shoulder issue. Now Nkosi's got a shoulder issue. And now it's like, okay, well, obviously Tate should start. But then, are the shoulders good? Whatever. But the real problem here is the O-line.
And what combats a bad O-line?
A shotgun. But it's like...
I'm talking like, I know what it is, without a doubt. But I wanted, like, you're not football savvy, so what do you
It's
think?
what I said. Like, why do you have play action? Like, to me, if I'm getting blitz and I'm getting sacked like crazy, I don't want to do, like, play action fakes. I want to get the ball out as quickly as possible or get it to where if Nkosi can scramble, which I believe, let me scramble. What's the play QB where the QB runs right up the middle? I don't know the play.
Just cute, like a QB power.
Something. It's just like a straight run forward.
Like a blast, like a
like a
QB
blast. But you've
down.
got the halfback there too.
Yeah.
But it's like
You see Baltimore running a lot, especially because they have Lamar Jackson.
like the Florida game. You let up 10 sacks. You got Jaren, which that was his premier game. It was a big game, week 0.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you learn from that. But it's like you need to give your QB as much time as possible. Now, another thing which we did talk about before, Zion Nelson on the outside, they were just speeding right around him.
I don't even recall this game at this point, like what he did. I even watched it again.
But it's like, I didn't really focus on him, but it's like, to me, in my opinion, it's like if your O-line's that terrible, create time, create as much space as possible.
I think
for
some
your
of the
QB.
point is our offensive line isn't exactly getting beat anymore. Like, I think they've kind of got the technique down. They're just terrible at identifying the blitzes and who they need to pick up and who they don't.
Well, apparently they're still missing assignments as well.
Yeah, because that was the main point of the strip sack fumble on Kosi, is that DJ Scaife doesn't see the guy blitzing, and he's supposed to block the furthest outside guy that wants to rush, and therefore Kosi can scramble to the other side and throw the screen.
Yeah.
And
Which is what he's good at.
yeah, but I guess Scaife missed him. They said that Kosi sat there and paused.
We froze.
It froze and then got nailed, and it just all. Let me prove to you why this scheme isn't fitting my.
What I mean, am I wrong? Like, if
No,
your
you're
scheme might be right, your scheme might be good, but if your O-line's not good, you need to work around that. You change your scheme.
I'm gonna prove to you why I think this scheme is wrong as a whole. Not
What do you mean
just
for the
not
whole
just
team, not just O-line.
yes.
Okay,
And
go ahead.
why this offensive woes that we're seeing is almost on purpose, it feels like, because it's like this is a result of what's going to happen if you run
I
like
did
this.
see a comment. Somebody's in the Dan's purposely trashing Miami, so
Probably.
we can get back to Alabama.
So
But go ahead.
let me talk about the University of Wisconsin. So the University of Wisconsin runs a very, 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 not like Georgia Tech 40s triple option old, but like 1990s, probably late 90s, where it's I formation, ton of tight ends, big offensive linemen, and they're going to run the football until their running back dies on the field, and they bring in another one, and they're going to run the football some more. Because they're running. Jonathan Taylor is up for the Heisman. I personally think he should be in the league because I really love running backs. But they're literally just hiking the ball, handing it off to Jonathan Taylor, and they're saying, I dare you to stop me. And how do they do that? Recruiting. Wisconsin has – how many good players do you think are in the state of Wisconsin, high school-wise? A heck of a lot less than Florida.
Yeah.
'Cause-
When I think of Wisconsin, I think of farmers.
Because the three hotbeds of recruiting, without a doubt, are Florida, California, and Texas.
Texas, yeah.
So what does Wisconsin have to do if they don't get premier talent, which they don't? No premier talent is going to want to go purposefully as a quarterback. I'm going to think, they run the ball 30 times a game. I'm not going to want to go there. And quite frankly, you just don't.
Right.
Because they have lackluster quarterbacks and somehow nearly make it to the playoffs every year by doing one thing, running the football. And what is that a byproduct of? Recruiting. They recruit the kids in their state and what they're good at. their kids in their state are big, tall kids that are strong, that don't necessarily have the gut or whatever. They're just big, they're burly, and they move people around. They are big people movers. So they play to that strength on offense. What is our offensive line good at? All they're good is pushing dudes 5 yards on the run. Can pass block? Who cares? At the end of the day, all they're really, really, really good at is being strong. So we're going to hike the football, let you just come off the line and just push people as far as you can, and we'll see what happens.
You know what? I didn't know this, but Wisconsin beat Central Michigan 61-0.
This season?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that, honestly.
I didn't either, which I knew Wisconsin was undefeated.
Well, it's like you could say, oh, well, Jonathan Taylor's their premier back. Well, it's like, go back a ton of years, and they've got James White. Didn't they get Melvin Gordon, who is in the NFL right now and tearing it up? James White is tearing it up with the Patriots. And then you transition, and now they got Jonathan Taylor. They've always got a good back. It doesn't matter. And so I think James White, I don't know if he still does, but he held the single-season touchdown record for rushing.
Wow.
And that's what they do. They take their recruits, and they do exactly what they need to do on offense in order to play to their strengths. Flip that on its head. Now we're back in Miami.
That makes sense. I see that now, what you're saying.
I've seen some of these kids play in Miami. I know exactly. You could watch on TV on Friday nights, literally on TV, and watch kids in Miami play football. What are they good at? They're fast. Yep. They're fast, and then they're faster.
Yeah.
Like
Speed is the name of the game in Florida.
They may not be big. They may not have the technical ability. Like, it don't matter.
I don't know. They'll juke you out of your shoes too, but
it does. If you're fast, it sets up for a lot of trouble as a defense. So then, therefore, what is the offense that is predicated on speed? It would be Oregon's, but I think that offense is a little outdated because it was very innovative for its time. But I think a spread that LSU runs that's still NFL schemes in nature, but is a spread. They are in the shotgun the entire time. I think that is perfect for what Miami does.
Yeah.
Look at what Alabama does. Alabama has 4 of the fastest receivers at all of college football. Granted, they have Tua Tagovailoa at the helm, but you catch the football and you watch them run down the field. That is the easiest throw Tua has to make in his entire life.
Yep.
There might as well not even be a defender. Those dudes are so fast; they are blown by the corner, and it's just Tua is just like he's just on air in walkthroughs. He's just got to throw it on the money, and it's like, no, I ain't got to throw it back shoulder. I ain't got to try to make sure he can come back and get it. There's not a safety coming. It's just one-on-one. My dude is always faster than yours, and that is Alabama right now. And if Alabama, who abandoned their pro-style offense for a spread, why are we still running a pro-style offense? Of the teams that are undefeated right now, none of those teams run a pro-style offense. Clemson runs a spread. Alabama runs a spread. LSU runs a spread. SMU, Southern Methodist University, runs an air raid. Minnesota runs a spread. All these teams that are undefeated run a spread. You know who the number 1 offense in the country is, if you had to guess?
Alabama?
Oklahoma. You know who's number 2? UCF. So what does that tell me? That means UCF is taking what little crumbs they can get basically out of recruiting after Florida State gets them, and Florida gets them, and Miami gets them. What's left is UCF's, and they're saying, we'll take that speed, and we'll use it. Granted, they're not doing as hot this season as they normally do, but that is speed on speed on speed, and Oklahoma now has speed on speed on speed and speed at the quarterback. And so why are we the ones that are archaic in nature with having more speed than everyone else? Jeff Thomas, Mike Harley, Brevin Jordan is without a doubt one of the better tight ends in the country. DJ Dallas is one of the better backs in the country.
So with that argument, though,
excuse me,
with what we said tonight, with how Miami looks on paper, and looking at the comparison like you just did, from my perspective, the only blame I can put is the rookie coaching.
What it boils down to the fact that while we put up okay numbers throughout the season. We're still 27% on third down. It's like, we'll take that out. We'll just look at the top yardage, or we'll just look at the top part of it as a whole. We're 29th in passing offense. We're 102nd on rush offense. We're 62nd in the country on total offense. We scored 20 points on Florida. How many did LSU score?
30.
40.
Was it 40?
40 plus. 44. 42.
Was it?
45, I think, actually. So
Your number keeps
LSU,
going up.
who has better athletes, yes, but are they faster
42.
than us? No.
That's right, because they got, yeah.
So,
I didn't watch the end of that game. Okay.
that's right, yeah. But I'm just,
It was rough. I knew they were losing.
as a baseline, LSU is one of the better offenses in the country behind Alabama, I would say, if they have Tua playing. And so then,
Which he's under surgery, right?
yeah, I think he's supposed to play versus LSU. In a
But
couple
obviously,
weeks.
it's going to boil down to LSU versus Alabama.
Yeah, that'll be the game of the century, I would say. But it's like, Joe Burrow went from last year, they ran a pro-style offense. They beat Miami by a lot last season. But last year, you remember what the hype was around Joe Burrow? It was zero. All they said was Joe Burrow transferred from Ohio State, didn't cut at Ohio State. He's a game manager. He won't lose you any games. He just needs to throw his little passes and get
They
you
said
the
that about
win.
him?
What is he right now?
Well, they're talking about that.
He's up for the Heisman right
Yeah.
now. Like, that's insane. That is what a change-up scheme does. He went from a pro-style offense to a spread. And he went from a game manager, maybe gets you a couple games. He's definitely not going to be anywhere close to Alabama. And then to now, Alabama versus LSU is probably going to be your championship game at the end of the day. Because they're going to put both of these teams in the playoff no matter what.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you they both will be whoever they play, and they'll wind up playing each other again, because that's what a spread offense does. It's like, everybody's like, oh, Oklahoma, they've always got a mobile quarterback, whatever. It's like, Jalen Hurts still throws for like almost 400 yards a game.
Yeah,
He
LSU.
runs for 100, but he puts up almost 400 yards a game in passing.
Yeah, LSU is at Auburn, or they play Auburn this weekend.
Yeah, they
And
play
then,
Auburn, yeah.
Alabama's after that on the 9th. Yikes.
I mean, I've even said it like a few times on this podcast. The NFL is even only under center like 40% of the time. Most teams, like the Chiefs, are in shotgun 85% of the time. The Eagles are one of the only outliers in that they are like 80% under center. Well, that's because Carson Wentz is huge, and they've actually got a really good line out there in Philly. But even New England is 50-50. They understand you can't really be under center in today's league. So why?
Yeah, because the defense is too fast. There's too much speed.
Yeah. So it's like, why are we the ones that are always on this end of the spectrum? Because running an offense is not the way forward anymore. Running a spread offense is the way now. It is the one-back offense that we ran in 1989 when we were the head of the curve. It is the pro-style passing attack we ran in 1983 for the championship when nobody else was. Like, we are not innovative. We are the last people to innovate. LSU, for crying out loud, innovated before we did. And here we sit, and you could chalk it up to, oh, it's play calling. You know, the scheme is working. That's what I was trying to say earlier. It's like, well, the scheme works for a bit, and it breaks down on third down and red zone. Oh, then we run some good plays here, and then we stall out. It's like, at the end of the day, if you're running a pro-style scheme in today's world, I think you are a terrible play caller to begin with. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think you are archaic in nature, and therefore you are behind the curve.
I think it's pretty obvious that he's a terrible play caller.
But it's like, even on the surface level, if you come to me as a head coach of a college football team and I say, what is your desired offense? And you say, I want to run some under center pro-style offense, I would say, you're an idiot. There's no way.
Especially with the O-line you have.
When Washington State runs an air raid, which is a version of the spread, in Washington State,
You know what, though?
Tulane, for crying out loud, ran a spread against Auburn.
You know what, though? Georgia Tech can't change their scheme this year.
What are they in?
But they beat Miami.
That's what I'm saying. What offense are they running now?
They were running triple option. I don't know what they're running now.
They are running a spread style offense.
But if they can change, which they had a break, but it's like Miami has nothing to lose. Just change
Well, they
it.
changed because of head coaches.
Right, yeah, I know. But
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think you put that all into
Does it
perspective in the fact that
nothing can hurt Miami worse.
you just lost to a team last year who ran probably the complete opposite offense that they are running right now.
Yeah.
Unless they threw the ball legitly 50 times, would be the complete opposite of what they did last season. But a spread could not be more opposite of what they did last season.
Wow. So it's like
Me and my cousin Bryce had this conversation. It's like, I know you probably can't, but like, as somebody, if anybody out there watches college football, can you name me an actual team that runs a pro style offense other than ours? Florida runs a spread. Florida State runs a spread. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
UCF runs a spread. Like, Georgia runs a pro style offense, and look at what Georgia's doing. Georgia's having one of the more lackluster offenses this year, with one of the best offensive lines this game has ever seen. And yet, here we sit.
I thought Florida was a pro style before Tebow.
Before Tebow, yeah.
Yeah. With Chris Lee? Yeah.
Well, that's also Dan Mullen was the OC then, too.
Yeah.
Dan Mullen was the OC for Team Tebow. That wasn't
05
talking to the mic.
05 to 08? I could be wrong.
And it's like, I think I've exhausted all I want to say. Because
You want to talk about the
only
game?
what game?
You want to talk about the Georgia Tech game?
No, I don't want to talk about the game at all.
You don't want to talk about the final play?
No, I think at that point it doesn't matter to me. It really mattered to my brothers, but I didn't care. That was just so par for the course of what was happening that game.
So you don't think they score if they get the first down?
I mean, we were 67% in the red zone. 65.
I thought for sure if they would have got the first down, which it looked like they did, they would have scored.
But it's still, who's suffice to say, our defense was gassed. They literally scored them, like 2 plays. They ran all the way in 1.
I think that was luck.
It's still, like, our offense, at the end of the day, if we beat Georgia Tech, it doesn't do me any favors, because I still think that we should not have been anywhere close to what Georgia Tech was doing. I've said this over and over and over. Every championship team that we've had has been innovative. Is Miami right now innovative in any way, shape, or form? On defense, you could say yeah, because they play a striker who is a linebacker / safety / corner who is bigger, and he can be fast and play physical. That is a little out of the ordinary. It's kind of an older concept, but it's innovative in this game, in this day and age.
So is that Manny Diaz that brought that about, or is that Blake Baker?
That was Diaz. Diaz did that a couple years ago.
Okay.
And so then it's like, well, transition to offense. Are we innovative? It's like, well, I guess you could say we're innovative, and that we're the only team stupid enough to run a pro-style offense.
So, I mean, what if you had a pro-style quarterback, which I think you've actually got one, right? They're recruiting a pro-style quarterback.
Yeah, and Tyler Van Dyke.
So they obviously like the scheme enough that they're going after a pro-style quarterback to continue it.
What you're saying, pro-style offense doesn't mean, like, under center stuff that we're doing. Like, Joe
the play
Burrow,
call, right?
Joe Burrow is a pro-style quarterback. Pro-style means you don't really run a lot. That's not how you win your games in high school.
Okay.
Like, Bo Nix, he runs a lot at Auburn now, like design QB runs, but he was labeled as a pocket passer coming out of high school.
Yeah.
Because
okay.
in high school, that means
But like
kids
pro-style
are...
doesn't mean under center.
No, because that's what it used to mean, is that, because usually only the dual threat kids would run a spread because they had that added QB run on it. But now people have figured out how to actually run a real offense from just this shotgun and spreading out your receivers.
Gotcha.
And, the quarterbacks are better at it because they've been running it since they were 10 years old.
So, and I might have to ask you this off. Does spread offense change the routes that we run as well?
No. What it does, it changes your... It's like... It's a ton of different concepts. Like, you know how we get the ball from under center. and on run plays, you have to turn around and hand it off.
Right.
Now you can develop like what NC State or not NC State, but what North Carolina does, where they're running from the shotgun every time.
Right.
So therefore, that tells me I would say 99% of their run plays are RPOs. So you go from the shotgun, you're no longer got your back facing the defense. You're
Right.
automatically hiking the ball, and it's either here or it's
Handing
here.
off, yeah.
So that means I can keep my eye here, and I can either decide to give it depending on what the linebacker does, or I can throw it right where that guy was.
Gotcha.
So it adds just these elements of quick passes. You can get the shotgun, and you have two receivers lined up over here, and Brevin on the tight end spot,
Right.
and you back him up maybe like a little bit where he's like in a wing tight end kind of position, and you hike it, and you can have it turn around, and Brevin could just run out, and both your receivers run up and just block. And so therefore, you got Brevin one-on-one with a linebacker and a safety.
Yeah.
He's going to outrun your linebacker, and he's one-on-one, 6'3", 240 with the safety. And it's like, it's just these quick concepts that are just, it's not like what the old school spread was, where it's like, I'm in the shotgun, I'm going to, if it's a run, it's probably going to be got a QB run attached to it where it's a read option, or it's just, there's so many good things you can do and from the shotgun that you can't do from under center. And the main one is the play action game and what it does with quick passes. Because you can even do, from that same formation, you can use two tight ends or two receivers and a tight end. Well, if you hike it, you could fake the play this way and turn around, and your tight end could go out, and your receiver could go up and block. The receiver comes like this way, it's a screen.
Right.
So it's like you've got now a screen play to a receiver and a screen play to a tight end with a run attached to it and a QB run attached to it.
Yeah.
All from the same formation.
And it's not really taking you much time to set it up because you're
No,
not
it's
having
like
to turn around.
you can even move the running back to this side. So therefore, it is now a RPO.
But you don't have to turn around.
No,
You're not
it's
wasting
like
time.
it just keeps your quarterback literally looking at the camera the entire time is the defense.
Because, as it is anyways, it seems like almost every play that we're under center, it's like Nkosi's running backwards.
If you go under center, I know for one, that is eliminating at least half of the plays in my head. Because look at what I just told you. If you go with two receivers to the double receivers to the side,
Yep.
you're 3-by-1. So you got three receivers. You got two on one side, one on the other side. You got a tight end on the same side.
Yep.
And then you got the running back on the same side as those. You can either hand it off, your quarterback can pull it, or you can throw it to one of these guys quick.
Yeah.
So that is a triple option in the spread concept.
you're
And
not
that is
wasting
what
time.
NC State, or not NC State, but North Carolina beats people to death with, is that they have this guy acting like he's going to turn around and screen, but they got the slot guy going up and running a slant. And so therefore they're all booking it because somebody yelled screen, and he just runs right past them, and boom, right over their head he goes.
Gotcha.
And then the moment you play fake, they all go running again to try to combat the screen, and you got to deep ball down
Gotcha.
with one-on-one with Bandy, who's 5'10", like we did against North Carolina. It's like it's so much better, and that's
So it
just
confuses
that's
their
just
backs.
it's literally just that's one instance of how it's good,
Yeah.
and it's like.
But
it's,
as of now, it's like we're lining up under center. He's turning around with his back against the defense, running backwards to do play action, whatever.
Yeah.
Or if he does hand it off. But it's like he's running back 3-4 yards to get to
that
the
already
center
takes.
position.
It's like, well, look how easy. I understand, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's like this coincides with what you say with the shotgun. You literally don't have to move in order to make this decision in the shotgun.
Yeah, and
And
the 3 seconds that
You're hiking the
running
ball, and you're like,
backwards.
okay, am I going to hand this ball off? No, this is an actual pass play.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to hand the ball. If this is a play fake, I'm looking the entire time at where these guys are going. It's not like, oh, I'm trying to see where these guys are going. No, it's like, no. Sometimes you're trying to just keep that safety in the middle. So your guys that are running go routes on the side, which are just straight runs, he doesn't go to one side or favor one of them. So if you got Jeff and another dude who's fast, like D. Wiggins or Mike Harley, you're one-on-one. Because that guy has to say, okay, I'm staying in the middle because this quarterback can throw it right down the middle where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I can't favor one side. And it's like, well, if you're on a hash mark, now you're in the middle of the formation. You're not in the middle of the field. You're not, understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you're on the left hash mark, he's on the left hash mark, and you've got the whole right side of the field
Yeah.
to really go.
And he's got to get over there.
Yeah.
But that's just what to me, it's like you're wasting all that time, and it's like Kosi turns around and he's got backs in his face, and then he has to make split-second decisions where, like you said, if he's in shotgun, he has those 2-3 extra seconds where they can set up whatever, but he has time. He doesn't have to move. He can stay somewhat in the pocket before it collapses.
Well, it's like one of the only teams that's really under center a lot in the NFL is the Philadelphia Eagles. You've seen how big Carson Wentz.
Wentz.
Yeah, you know how big he is. He's 6'5", 6'6", 250 pounds, like 240. Yeah. Like, this is a big joker, and they have a really good offensive line. It's like, and they're really good. They're really tight end heavy too. Zach Ertz is one of the better tight ends in the NFL.
Which seems like something you would need if you're running pro style.
Yeah,
is a good O line.
Yeah, and they are really, really good.
And it's like,
and
put him in shotgun, buy him some time.
Who has a terrible offensive line but a good offense? The Chiefs. Who's got a good offense? Who's got a good offense with a good quarterback? Maybe lackluster receivers? The Patriots. It's like, well, we're going under center sometimes. We got a couple of good linemen. Maybe we ain't got our whole line isn't good, like the Cowboys or the Eagles. But we got, maybe our right side is good. We can go under center, keep the right side at bay if they've only got one good defensive end. Like if they've only got like Khalil Mack, for instance, or something like that. It's like, well, the right side can handle Khalil Mack for a little bit while I run under center. And it's like, that's the give and take, but it's like, at this point, our offensive line is just not handling it. And I don't know if that's just ignorance or if that's just what you want to do from the jump back in March or whatever when you design this scheme. Because if you design this back in March, man, I really don't understand how you keep this a secret. Like, I don't understand how this line was this bad and you didn't know it.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because everybody else seems to understand now that the spread is the new norm.
Yeah.
And for some reason, we're not adapting.
But it's like, too, I think you have teams coming in noticing that Miami's O-line's bad. And it's like...
Which is like they noticed last season we only had 7 plays. It's like, that's not a joke.
No, I know.
It's like they understood that if our receiver ran a little wheel route, the play was the same the entire time. Like, it's the same thing. Like,
so you had 7 plays last year, but yet you did better. You scored more.
We had 7 plays in 2017, and we beat the brakes off of Notre Dame and Virginia Tech, who was a good Virginia Tech team at the time. So, I feel like I've made about as good of a point as I can make.
Yeah, without
for the spread.
Sending a letter to.
Because half of that stuff I said about the spread, I didn't even really have written down.
Well, Manny did say that they had a package for Tate. If that's not him talking about Tate at wide receiver, let's see what they do Wednesday for practice. Let's see if Tate's throwing the ball. Because Pittsburgh I think is averaging like 5.5 sacks a game.
Pittsburgh is number 1 in sacks.
I think they're averaging 5.5 a game.
Yeah, which is a lot.
Let's.
But so did Virginia. Virginia had a lot of sacks per game too.
I think Miami's 3.3. I could be wrong. I heard somebody.
Well,
say
like
that.
half of Miami's games, they have to spy a defensive lineman to combat the QB run. So I don't know, guys. I feel like most people agree with what I said. Like, I feel like this has been the notion for 10 years now. Like, Miami is behind the curve. We're supposed to be innovative. For some reason, we're not there. So, if you agree with anything that I said, let me know.
I agree. It makes more sense now tonight than ever. But
yeah, I understand you don't know exactly the ins and outs of a spread versus air raid versus.
Well, I mean, from what I'm saying, it sounds like I get the gist of it.
Yeah. So
by the QB time.
So, well, if you got any kind of constructive criticism or anything about what you think this offense should be doing, if it's different than what I said, because people are saying going full blown air raid. I don't know about that, maybe, but I guess there's difference of opinions, and we'll just have to see what happens at the rest of the season. But I think at some point you got to fix this offense by the end of the season, or you're going to lose your job.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen though. I think they're going to start looking at recruiting to.
Yeah, because at this point it's affecting your team because one player who isn't getting the ball is now transferring. It's like, well, if you're winning, that kind of eases me a little bit. It's like, well, these kids are doing better.
I mean, honestly,
obviously.
though, we really didn't talk about the kicking situation at all.
Because it should not
I will
have happened.
say that Price, is that his name?
Yeah, Camden Price. He's supposed to
He
play.
has been practicing. If you've made it this far,
Yeah.
Price has been practicing. He's supposed to play,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the same thing with the QBs. They got 3 kickers, and they're all trash. So,
Yeah. So, well,
which we'll have more on that Thursday. Obviously, we should find out who's QB Thursday.
you would hope. I hope it's Tate Martell. It's got to be. The Martell Cartel is what they're calling it.
It'd be a nice change.
And it's just, I would finally get my wish in the beginning of the season, where I was hoping that, not because Tate was better, but because Tate ran a spread offense better, we would play him. But
We also
We'll
don't
see.
have word if Jeff Thomas is.
coming back, or
Coming
Dallas
back,
is
or-
hurt, or what's
So
really
it's
going
like-
on. So,
To me, the season's over.
I mean, yeah,
Miami's rebuilding.
There's-
Stamp it.
he's a clown, bro. So, if you enjoy the video, I guess leave a like. Let us know in the comments what you guys think.
Yep.
Subscribe, because we're getting these out every Monday and Thursday.
Yep.
Really hope there's a bowl game at least to watch for us. So, because if not, I guess I'll be a North Dakota State fan or something. Because that's where game day is next week. So, I don't know. It's still go Canes. And I feel like that's going without saying. Like,
Yeah, Canes go somewhere.
it's still like, and everybody's like, oh, I'm still a Miami fan. It's like, if you have to say that, then,
Yeah, Miami fans are always Miami fans. Like, you know.
if you look on, like, Manny's press conferences, they got, like, 300 likes and, like, 50, or 300 dislikes and 50 likes.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's Miami for you.
Yeah.
So,
And I am wearing my Florida shorts, just so you know.
oh, yeah, that's right. Well, if you enjoyed, I guess leave a like and subscribe and
Let us know what you guys think.
yeah,
We
follow me
appreciate
on-
you guys watching.
follow me on Twitter. It's still, you guys know what it is.
See us Thursday for a terrible review of the Pittsburgh game.
You guys know what it is. It's always about the U.